I was back in Malaysia for my Lunar New Year celebration to see my parents, relatives, friends, and so on. We really had a blast, and this are some of the photographs. We're gonna do a sketch, well, at least one of the sketch that I did. I did the whole sketchbook this trip. I'll show you in another video where I will flash through all the sketches that I did. But here's the sketch of the bottles. One of the first things I want to do, well, I didn't have the footage where I sketched the bottles. They are sketched with fountain pen, direct without any pencil line underneath. I will leave a link to the photograph so that you can also do your own version of it if you like. But what I do here is really lay vertical lines of sort for the background, just to get paper white off the page. In other words, the background is a little bit tainted with colors. I use a mixture of permanent or quinacridone roast with a bit of green gold, so that kind of grade down, and I use that to sort of give it a tint, if you like, a stain. Sometimes what you need to do really is just to give the background of the white that it comes. I mean, paper could come in beige, white, or off-white, but if you give it a tint, it will be like a little bit darker than what originally you get from paper white. So the whole idea is just to differentiate the background from white, and that allows you to do many things. One of them is to make some of the bottles pop, or at least the highlights to be whiter than the background. We have been staying at the Marriott, the courtyard by the Marriott at Setia Alam. Setia Alam is somewhere in Shah Alam, which is the capital of Selangor, the state of Selangor in Malaysia, and it's very near where my parents and my wife dad lives. So it's all accessible to friends and families. I grew up pretty much in that area in Klang. It's a place where I go back once every, I guess, 2-3 months to see my parents. As you can see, it starts to lay down the dark colors, the bottle caps, and some of the other sort of dark colors, if you like. There's a few things to remember. One, you don't really have to use black. You can have a mixture of staining blue or staining red. In this case, I have I use permanent alizarin crimson mixed with French ultramarine with a dash of phthalo green, blue shade, if you like, and that gives it a kind of a pretty dark purple, if you like, or at least I keep it as purple as I can. The other color I use quite a bit is Carbozel Violet, and sometimes I throw that in as well. I have Moon Glow on my palette as well, although I hardly use that for dark, because Moon Glow is not as dark for creating the dark shades, if you like. It's okay to go dark first. You don't really have to paint the traditional way of layering light to dark. Sometimes if you know that you're gonna go dark, you might as well go dark first. Like in this case, the bottle of Bailey's, it is actually quite dark, and I'm just gonna go in with the darkest that I can throw at it. That's the first thing that basically you can go dark first. The second thing is that you could also think about mixing the various colors, so that in one shape, in one patch, you don't necessarily have to use a single color or colors from a single tube. You can throw in different colors down, or different shades of the same color if you like. So for example, if you have brown, you could throw in a bit of yellow to it, because brown is essentially dirty yellow. A bit of orange, a bit of reddish, and you can mix brown with red and then throw that in. For green, I will throw in green gold, a bit of yellow into it, and then a bit of phthalo green blue shades. So all those colors in different mixtures, and it gives you a sense of basically reality. If you look at the bottles, they are not of a single color. They are a variety of colors with darks and light all thrown in a single shade. The thing to keep in mind when you are layering color for me is to leave enough of the white highlight. Even if you lose it, you can always go back with your opaque white later on. And in this case, I'll try not to if I can help it. But what I am thinking about is to lay as many colors to give it a sort of a mature look, variety of the same hue, and it creates like for example, you can see the green, it has many shades of green in it, but right now I'm reading the values, in other words the dark and light of the bottle, and I'm trying to recreate what I can, the shape or the three-dimensional form, by mimicking the darks and the lights as well as the highlight. Really no magic in some of these approach. I basically sometimes go into a zone where I'm not thinking anymore. I'm just looking at a photograph or the scene, and I am trying to replicate the dark and light of the bottles and the objects that I'm sketching. You know, it's a very pleasurable zone to be in, because all I'm doing is really just observing and trying to replicate it. And what all the time I'm reading the colors I'm picking up, how dark it is, how intense or how pigmented it is, and I'm laying it down, and I'm just trying to observe the effect of the paint I'm laid down, wet on wet or wet on dry, and trying to see how dark it goes, because the darkness or the values is what gives it shape or three-dimensional sense of the bottles, if you like. You know, overthink our sketch. In other words, we try to be too realistic, and then we kind of miss the whole point, that it is about reading values, it is about creating form. It's one of the elements of design or sketching, form. The others being, if you remember, the 7 elements of design: space, line, shape, form, color, value, texture, right? So those are the 7 things, and values is what gives it, values and gradation basically ultimately is what gives, objects 3-dimension sense. Sometimes people think it's very complicated to sketch bottles, glass, metal, ceramic, and so on. But at the end of the day, all you need to do is observe highlights, gradation, values, and basically shapes. And if you can get those elements correct, and you can lay down as best you can with the techniques that you have with your fingers, you should be able to replicate the sense of 3-dimensional objects such as the one you see here. Basically all you're doing is leave the highlight, in other words paper white where you can. If not, then you go back with opaque white, and then you go in with darks or darkness. You're trying to recapture where you see the dark, where you see the light, where you see the mid-tone, where you see the various stains of colors, and then you add the shadows to it, which of course is again values and gradation, and that's about it. Colors can be a little bit off. In other words, the green doesn't have to be accurate, the red doesn't have to be accurate, and even the shape doesn't have to be quite accurate. They have to be somewhere in the ballpark. And if you can do that, if you can get the values and the highlights roughly correct, it will have a sense of 3-dimensional objects right in front of you. That's really the secret or the basic. To me, these are some of the most basic recipes you could follow. There's really no secret in other words. And the good thing about watercolor is that if you didn't lay down dark enough the first time, you can always go back again, second, third time with a darker patch. Gotten too dark the first time, you could wet it down and try to dab it with a tissue or paper, and you can pick up some of the pigment and maybe lighten it somewhat. So actually there's some ability to edit your watercolor. It's not a goner if you made some mistakes. Don't just throw the sketch away. Have a think around how you can rescue it. It's an exercise that's important. If you have rescued enough sketches, your ability to rescue sketches gets better, and you have ability to do more successful sketch if you like. Now I'm going through with my opaque white, my trusty Copic. It comes in a bottle with a little sort of not a nib, but it's a small brush, and I'm not you know, doing anything, but I'm just kind of like indicating where I see the lights. I'm just, you know, writing, or drawing is not quite the right word. I'm just scribbling with it basically. Copic opaque white. Opaque white is very, very ghastly. It's very white. Oftentimes it's whiter than the paper itself, but that's the whole point. Sometimes I gray it down. I put a dash of gray to it, and then I use that as a gray highlight, if you like. Not everything has to be paper white or opaque white. Sometimes it is a good idea to mix white with, you know, light gray, if you like, and that gives you a sort of variety of highlights in that sense. You know, in reality, it's always the case. It's not everything is be completely, you know, washed out white, if you like. White is because I draw with a dark fountain pen or black ink. I do separation of shapes by outlining just outside the black ink a line, a white line, if you like, and that sort of give it a separation between black light and, you know, and it's all very illustrative, but you know, it kind of work in a way. It doesn't always work, but you know, just to separate shapes sometimes is a good idea just to put in. You could see that the bottle of Bailey's is separated with a line, a white line to the right, and you know, I it's sort of illustrative approach, but it does work. And sometimes I do need to cover up some of the white as well, because it's just too white, with a layer of gray watercolor, if you like. The end of the video, we are almost done. I'm just adding touches, very small touches here and there, really just to you know, read the photo and try to recreate as best I can where I think the lights, or maybe some places where it's too light, where I think there should be a bit of shadow over it, cast shadow if you like. And yeah, and add a bit more touches here and there. I know some places are just not dark enough, but hey, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's just somewhat in the ballpark. If you're happy with the sketch, it's kind of done, right? So there's really no need to fret and fuss too much over it. It's really just a sketch. In any case, I have done a lot of sketches this trip. I'm going to show you in the next video all the sketches that I've done. I've done about 25 sketches. Not all of them are good. I mean, I've harvested, I guess, good ones as well. But yeah, yes, I think this set of bottles are done. By the way, I took this from the hotel where I stay, Courtyard at Marriott. It was at a bar next to the pool. Me and my wife was just having a drink, and I saw lovely arrangements of photo of the bottles. I just can't help myself. I think they're very sketchable. They're very pretty. I don't drink all of this. I'm not an alcoholic. I like a cocktail every now and then. I like a glass of wine every now and then, but that's about it. I don't drink too much. Yeah, I go to sleep. I get very, you know, tired and drowsy if I drink too much. You know, a lot of dinner and very few drinks. I'm very tired. You know, traveling is just tiring, I suppose. It's also the first year where our daughter, well, empty nester now, daughter is in the UK studying, and we are all by ourselves. And, you know, so it's more time for the family, but it's still enjoyable. And yeah, we do miss our daughter. She's having fun in the UK though, so which is a good thing. But anyway, so back to the sketch. It's coming to shape more or less, trying to darken parts a bit more, separate some shapes, labels, and so on, and then give it a bit of yeah, final touches. Alright, so I think that's it. So wherever you are, stay safe. I wish you a blessed Lunar New Year. Gong xi fa cai if you're from Singapore, Malaysia, and this part of the world, and have a, you know, very, very safe and I guess healthy New Year ahead. Celebrating the incoming Year of the Dragon. Alright, so that's it for now from WeTake. Bye.